Now, Japan's ruling coalition government has increased its majority in the upper house of the parliament by winning Sunday's House of Councillors election that was largely overshadowed by the recent assassination of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. According to exit polls, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's Liberal Democratic Party, or the LDP, and its partner Komeito have won nearly 76 of the 125 seats that were being contested. LDP won 63 of the seats, that's up from 55, but not enough to take a single majority overall. In Japan, lawmakers in the House of Councillors, or the upper house, serve 6-year terms. Elections are organized every 3 years, in which nearly half of the seats they're contested. The House of Councillors has 248 seats in total, out of which 125 were up for grabs. The upper house election is seen as a referendum for the ruling government, which gives an accurate picture of the country's current political mood. And now, with LDP's win, the people's mandate. In Japan, it's loud and clear. Sunday's win very much crucial for the ruling coalition, as it will now help Prime Minister Kishida consolidate his rule. It will also allow him to carry out his goal of boosting defense expenditure and revise Japan's pacifist constitution. The upper house election came just 2 days after the barbaric killing of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who had a dominant presence in the Liberal Democratic Party. Abe was assassinated by a gunman on Friday while delivering a campaign speech in the western city of Nara. The incident has sent shockwaves across the country, where the political violence and the gun crimes are rare. Now, for more on this, joining us live from Tokyo is our correspondent Phoebe Amoroso. Thank you for joining us, Phoebe. The LDP, as expected, has increased its majority. This now consolidates Fumio Kishida's rule. What can you tell us about that?
It was a very good result for the LDP and its coalition partner Komeito, because they managed to secure 76 seats, raising that from 69, so that's an extra 7. And we already knew from polls that they were likely to expand, but this result might even be better than expected. Why this is so significant is that there aren't any other elections for the next 3 years. This really gives Prime Minister Kishida and his administration a chance to push through on some of their policies, and a key focus will be tackling inflation. The cost of living is really rising sharply with food and energy prices, so people are going to want to see some action on that. But unusually for a Japanese election, we have seen defense and foreign policy really take center stage, with the LDP promising to boost defense expenditure very sharply in the next 5 years, potentially exceeding 2% of GDP. But again, this money needs to come from somewhere, and Japan has a lot of debt, and so it's going to be interesting to see exactly how they approach this and push this forward, and how the public responds to that.
Absolutely, Phoebe. In fact, talking about defense expenditure, I was just going to ask you about that. One of the main focus areas has been Fumio Kishida's desire to increase defense expenditure and also revise Japan's pacifist constitution. What can we expect in that regard? Can we expect any amendments to Article 9 anytime soon, and how is that likely to be received?
That definitely does seem to be on the table. In fact, Toshimitsu Motegi, who's the Secretary General of the LDP, said on the election night that he wants to see an amendment to the constitution as soon as possible. Now, Article 9 means that Japan cannot take offensive or non-defensive action overseas, and revising it is hugely controversial. When some amendments were made in 2014 by former Prime Minister Abe and his administration, we saw widespread protests and outcry in Japan. But there definitely seems to be a shift in the mood among the public, as concerns over security in the Indo-Pacific region, particularly China's influence and growing assertiveness, North Korea's weapons development, is raising concerns among the public. And now it's a topic that is on the table for discussion. With the results from this election, pro-amendment parties have secured the necessary so-called supermajority, 2/3 of the seat necessary to push that through. But the caveat is they must all agree on what that amendment must look like, and there's yet to be any kind of consensus, so the devil really will be in the detail to see exactly what they can push through. However, Kishida does have a solid 3 years in power, and so many analysts believe he'll be able to give it a good shot.
Right. All right, Phoebe, thank you so much for bringing us all the updates on this. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.